Now to the issue of painkiller abuse in the U.S., a bipartisan group in Congress is putting pressure on the Food and Drug Administration to take action. The aim is to make addictive prescription drugs harder to obtain by changing the way they are classified, with lawmakers saying 139 million hydrocodone painkiller prescriptions sold since 2010. We're talking about regulating one of the top sold meds in the country. For more, Dr. Lynn Webster, president of the American Academy of Pain Medicine, joins us now. Welcome, doctor. So can you tell us more about the effects of changing this classification system? What would that do in terms of changing the ease at which patients can obtain these addictive drugs, in some cases addictive?
Well, we don't know exactly what the implications are going to be, but likely to be far-reaching one way or another. As you pointed out in the introduction, a lot of this medication is being prescribed. There's probably far more of it being prescribed than is necessary. In fact, we know that with some studies, as much as 60% of hydrocodone formulations are never used by their patients. They just go into the medicine cabinet, and then that becomes a portal for diversion. And unfortunately, that can lead to a significant problem by non-medical users. On the flip side of that, though, because it's a Schedule III, a lot of patients have had access to this medication because it is easier to call in. It's easier to get renewals, and some patients may not be able to get access to this because it'll probably cost more. As a result of that, they'll have larger co-pays, and it'll even cost the insurance companies more. So we really don't know what implications or impact this is going to have long term.
So do you think that this is an adequate way to address the issue of prescription painkiller abuse, or it doesn't sound like you are convinced?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball as to what impact this is going to have. Let's be clear, though. The problem is not hydrocodone. The problem is hydrocodone abuse. And we know that some of the more dangerous drugs, the ones that are abused the most, are already Schedule II. So it's not clear to me by rescheduling hydrocodone to a Schedule II that it's going to have the impact that everyone hopes that it would have. And I mean, everyone wants to see less prescription drug abuse in the country. This is a big problem. It is a national crisis without doubt.
If not changing the classification system, what do you think should be done to address this problem, to curb abuse? Because we see that the problem is on the rise.
Yeah, well, it can't hardly rise much more. I mean, we've got a significant problem. I think physicians need to be educated, and so do patients in our communities. That's fundamental. First, I think physicians need to understand that we're prescribing more than is necessary. When there's so much of it left over, nearly 2/3 of it's left over, that means we're prescribing far more than is necessary, and it's getting into the hands of kids and people who shouldn't have it.
Right.
Then secondly, people need to understand these are powerful drugs. They're dangerous. They're lethal when used in an unintended way. And so if they're left over or you take them at a party, you may die.
Yeah, powerful and addictive in some cases we're seeing. Doctor, what do you think should be done then to curb this problem of abuse? What do you think should be done? What needs to change?
A large part of it is our cultural attitude towards the medications. You know, most of the problem of addiction is a genetic vulnerability under a stressful or difficult environment. There are a lot of drugs out there that can lead to an addiction. The opioids certainly fall into that category, benzodiazepines, alcohol. There are a lot of drugs, and oftentimes when one drug is no longer available, another one becomes more widely abused. So it's kind of like squeezing the balloon. Unless we appreciate and understand the causes and the motives for a substance abuse, we're probably never going to solve the problem. We're just going to change the chemical that we're using.
And on the flip side, I do want to ask you, how do you think restricting or kind of regulating what the doctor can do, how can that impact the doctor-patient relationship?
Well, you know, most of the medications, or I should say the opioids that we prescribe today are scheduled. And it'll be a little bit of a struggle, particularly with this particular drug, because it is so commonly prescribed. I think that the surgeons are going to have a greater difficulty than probably the primary care or the pain specialist, because we have a longer standing relationship with most of our patients. So I think that's workable. I'm not sure that that is a big issue. I think, though, that the patients are going to have to find different ways to access the medication. They probably are going to be given different medications in some instances that are not as effective. But what I fear is that they may even be prescribed a drug that is more dangerous.
Yeah, we are going to have to leave it off there, but really do appreciate you weighing in. That was Dr. Lynn Webster, president of the American Academy of Pain Medicine.